Hi everyone, I'm Stan from Eagle Vision. I'm here with Jayde Devison from Devison Design. Welcome Jayde.
Thank you, Stan.
And we're talking about detailing the spaces. So in the past episodes we've talked about, I guess in general, all the various elements of how Jayde goes about creating that custom design. This time around, once the macro level is designed, we're going to talk about the actual details. So Jayde, what happens once you've got the concept, you've been building it for a while, now comes the fun part?
Yeah, the detailing, and you're absolutely right. We've got the concept of the building right, and we've started that construction process. If we must start the interiors virtually simultaneously. So whilst I'm designing the building, I'm in the back of my mind, I'm working out how the interior is going to work. So I'll overlap them. I might start designing the building, and then I will do an interior element because they are so intertwined.
Right.
A thing on the inside,
Yep.
especially if we do something that's mechanized, something that has to lift 2 or 3 ton or 4 or 5 ton, we have to make sure the structure is actually going to work. And
And it absolutely has impact on both the interior and exterior.
That's right. So there's a lot of that whole interior process begins the day we start designing anything. The real detail of putting everything together to make sure the finished elements are ready, that is the thing that's delayed somewhat. We'll do that.
Well, you don't
after
really
a
have
few
to
weeks.
start immediately.
No, we need to get the building started.
Have an idea of where it's going to go.
That's right. So once the building's started and underway, then we can start polishing up all of the interior elements, colours, features, furniture, engineering aspects, it's a long process. But
Is there a balance between detail and how much time it's going to take to create that extra level of detail?
I think that's always the designer's conundrum, is I want to make it perfect. Can the client afford it in terms of time and money?
Yeah, budget obviously comes up at that point of time, and if
Yes.
they, as we talked about before, increase their collection while you've been building this thing,
Yes.
what happens then? They must have some sort of limits, right?
Look, I think everyone loves to think that they don't have any limits, especially at the sort of level of clientele that we talk to. But the practical reality is there's always a limit.
Yep.
There's always a sensible limit.
Sure.
I'm very lucky that half of my clients are less sensible, because this is first and foremost, it's an affair of the heart.
Yeah.
It's an affair of the heart. So it's got to be right. So if they're going to spend a little bit more on overcapitalise, if it makes them happy, so be it.
Exactly, and it makes sense. And so, give us some of the examples of furniture pieces, or maybe art commissions, and any of that kind of stuff that you've gone out and.
So, invariably, every project is going to have furniture. It's going to have art, it's going to have mechanisation of some sort. So the mechanisation will run from the simple things of temperature, humidity control, light control, especially from the point of UV to protect the vehicles, and then fume extraction, because although a big garage is a large volume, we need to make sure that if we're starting up a 1964 GTO and it's pumping out 750 cubic meters of carbon monoxide, there's some fumes very, very quickly, especially if that's then connected to the house, and it filters through into the living room. So fume extraction is important, all the environmental factors. So they're the less romantic things, but the romantic things of mechanisation are: how do we suspend that motor vehicle from the ceiling, or how do we lift that motor vehicle up through to the next floor to the display area, or how do we have 4 vehicles stored on the side so it looks like it's swooping around on a racetrack and not slipping off into the collection, and then being able to get them down. So there's so many things that we can do. That detailing takes a long time. What I would do is look at the concept, how I'm going to make it work. I would do some initial engineering as an amateur purely, and then once I think of how I'd like it to work, how it might work, then I bring in the engineers to go through, to work with me to make sure that we have something that's perfect. As far as then furniture goes, we'll either look at anywhere from just selections of pre-made existing furniture through to
customize it.
Yeah, so we would then buy those things and then we'll have them upholstered. So we use, but generally we will design all of the furniture, have everything made, and
down to the handles and
absolutely, in hinges as well.
Things,
So when it comes to doing a piece of furniture where you'll see exposed hinges and things, if you see a screw, then we specify that each screw must be clocked at a certain angle so that the heads are perfectly aligned. If you start from that level up and you pay that much attention,
that's right.
then you know you're going to end up with a finished product. And I liken what we do to the Concours restoration of motor vehicles.
Okay.
A Concours restoration of motor vehicles, the underside, the inside has to look as good as what you see when you're standing up. And in so doing, we end up with a high quality product that will last a long time and give meaning to the client.
Yeah, sure. How about time management? How do you deal with that? Because we're at that final bit of the project, and I'm sure the client would love to start to use the space.
Yes.
But at the same time, in your mind, maybe you're thinking, oh, let me just have a bit more time. And how do you deal with that?
Greatness takes time.
Right.
Now, greatness is as perceived by the client. They want something that is great. If they want something that's fantastic, that's the big question is, can I have it by Christmas? And so as far as time management goes, I sit down with the client at the very beginning, we talk about the full broad parameters. When does this need to be finished? And the client, and then I will tell the client, this is the schedule that we can work to. You must be flexible.
It's really just an arbitrary position, right?
It's an arbitrary position in our minds that says, well, I'd like to have friends over at this period of time and I'd like them to see my garage. So, and whether it's Christmas in Australia or whether it's Christmas in Europe or whether it's another religious festival in another time, another place, there's always a date. So we move on from that, and we don't set fixed dates, because if you do that, you end up rushing that last 10%, and for the sake of another week or another 2 weeks, you could spoil a whole project. Inspirational, passionate design like this, where I'm basically inventing as we go. Everything is a concept design. Everything has always been a concept. Many things haven't been done before. Very hard to put time restraints on it. We prototype, we revise things, and then we get it right, and then we put it in. So time frame, time management, clear indications at the very beginning of the project, so there's no surprises. And then negotiations along the whole journey to make sure that we're meeting the client's expectations.
Sure, but at the same time, dreams take time.
That's right.
To get right.
How do you do a cantilevered hoist to lift a vintage truck up in the air so you can't actually see the lifting arm?
Right.
We can do it. Can we have it by February? I don't think so. I don't know. So that's what we like to do.
So it just becomes a conversation around expectations and how to manage those expectations.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, got it. What about commissioning artists and custom paintings or anything?
We'd love to work with those people.
Okay.
We'd love to work with artists. I have a number of artists in Europe and America, and some here in Australia that I will talk to about a commission for a particular project. I've just recently commissioned an artist here in Australia to do a series of watercolours for a polo client. And so those pictures, I've just got the first ones back at the moment. So those images are helping to inspire the colour selections as well. So now I've got those. I will use those colours from that watercolour, from that painting, to help inform these colour selections for the entire project.
Interesting.
I did talk to them about colours to start with. and so we had a general idea of where we're going. Other artists will do, for especially automotive work, there are some wonderful, highly celebrated artists. I have some of their work here in my own studio. Furniture design as well. If a client has a particular style in mind, rather than designing everything myself, I will go and collaborate with those furniture designers.
Yeah, fair enough. And the last question I've got is around intensity. So there's a certain level of intensity that one needs to have to create the right kind of a concept. Is there ever a conversation about that with the clients?
First meetings will always be, they start off quite formal, the formal introductions as you would expect.
Yep.
Within 10 minutes we're talking about slot car racing when we were 10 years old and the eyes get misty. So intensity goes from, I can spare you 15 minutes to 2.5 hours later, do you want another whiskey? Do you have to go? Let's talk more about scale electric. So intensity, it gets intense from a point of view of passion and interest and reflection on what was and what has motivated us all to get where we are now. About my passion and my intensity to get to become a designer, to the client's passion and intensity about the things that they collect, whether it's their cars, aeroplanes, boats, whiskey, music.
Sure.
We're talking about everything. We're opening our hearts up. So it's a very private thing for the client and myself and their group, their family, and it's just such a joy for me to be involved in that process.
Amazing, amazing. And the last question. So you've gone down a path, you've created this concept, they saw maybe images of how it's going to come out and look like, and then they get to the space and they see it and it's like, oh, this isn't what I was expecting.
No, and that's where it's really important.
Anything of that?
Yeah, it does. But and so I think that it's vital that we avoid all of that. So in my initial drawings, I will do hand sketches. I'll then try to paint a picture metaphorically as well as literally of what we're actually going to do. But with the advent and increase in technology, and thanks to Eagle Vision, I'm now able to produce spaces that are high quality, visually magnificent and clear. So the next level on for there is going to be putting on a headset and walking through the space. So perhaps you need to hurry up and get your boots on so we can do that.
Sounds great. Interactive is where we're up to.
Yeah, that's great. Well, looking forward to it. So that, the making sure the client is absolutely happy with everything we do is critical. Of course, there'll always be a cost associated with that, and the client has the option to choose whether they want to go to those next levels. I think the day will come where that is a standard minimum expectation. Is a 3D walkthrough, is a virtual reality walkthrough.
Well, it's already being done in residential development, so why not apply the same technology to this and let people play, even with the headsets and everything else, with all the tools that are going to be there.
Yeah, so I look forward to flying all of that out wherever it is around the world that my clients need it, and being able to bring that next level.
Sounds great. Awesome. Look, I really appreciate your time. Thank you. That was all that we sort of wanted to cover within custom concept design. Look forward to seeing you again. Cheers.